Raise your hand if you know that person. Raise your hand if you do not know that person. This is Diana Spencer, Princess of Wales, otherwise known as Lady Diana, one of the world's most famous people. Now, raise your hand if you think this person is still alive. Raise your hand if you think this person is deceased. Okay, we have a clear consensus in the room for deceased, and I am glad that that's the case. But now I have a question for you. How do you know that this person is deceased? Because the fact is, a lot of people believe that this person is alive. For example, here's someone who believes that.
You think Princess Diana is still alive? Absolutely, 100%. Do you? I didn't, but maybe you have something that you know that I don't know.
Well, you know God speaks to us, right? There's ways that we can figure these things out. So if people start learning ABC 1, 2, 3, which Michael Jackson talked about how many years ago, right? He sang about. So when people start understanding gematria, they start understanding the numbers, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3.
You know, gematria. The numbers. What do you all not understand about that? Now, we laugh at this person, and we laugh at the things that she's saying. But we really shouldn't, because I don't know a thing about the lady here that you've just seen. But I would guess that she is, in her world, a respected person, perhaps a mother, perhaps a caregiver of her parents, perhaps the owner of a small business, or an accountant or bookkeeper, or perhaps a nurse. This is probably someone who in her everyday life is a serious and reasonably well-informed person, yet she believes this stuff. And the problem of belief is endemic in society, the problem of truth. Here are some things that Americans believe. Demons, 43%, ghosts, 41%. Astrology is interesting. That's a quarter of the public, and it's not diminishing with time. Gen Z is just as likely to believe it. 7% think the Earth might be flat. 2% think the Earth is flat. Raise your hand. Let's just find out. Raise your hand if you think the Earth is or might be flat. We have no flat earthers in the room. This is 1 in 11 Americans here, folks. And if you think about it, the fact that the Earth is a spheroid is hard to verify in your personal life. You have to take someone's word for it. Now, what happens when, as a society, it becomes difficult or impossible to come together on key facts for purposes of governing? You get what's been called an epistemic crisis or epistemological crisis. Here is a good statement of it. This is former President Obama. If we do not have the capacity to distinguish what's true from what's false, then by definition, the marketplace of ideas doesn't work. And by definition, our democracy doesn't work. We are entering into an epistemological crisis. Now, I promise you that 6 or 7 years ago, I would have used the word epistemological crisis, and you would have all said, what? But most of you have probably heard this term. What are we talking about? Epistemic crisis? Let's call it, for simple purposes, a breakdown of a society's system for deciding what's true for public purposes. I emphasize deciding because this does not require us to agree on everything. In fact, it assumes that we disagree on many things. Disagreement is where knowledge comes from, pitting ideas against other ideas in search of even better ideas. What we do expect, though, is to have a system in society for moving toward consensus and deciding what's true for public purposes on critical questions where we have to come to collective decisions. When those systems cease to function, when they go wrong, you get some pretty severe consequences: polarization, chilling, false consensus, forking realities, ungovernability, conflict, even war. Profound disagreement about truth, for instance, who is blessed by God, Catholics or Protestants, have been the cause of untold killing and suffering in human history. A couple facts about right now. This is the percentage of Americans saying the political climate prevents them from saying things they believe because others might find them offensive. 2/3. This is brand new data. It's consistent with what we've seen every year. That's a strong majority of Americans. That's widespread chilling. Here's another. Substantial majority of Republicans believe the 2020 election was stolen from President Donald Trump. That continues to be true to this day. And a large percentage of independents believe we don't know who won the 2020 election. Forking realities. This was taken shortly in June of 2021 after the January 6th riots. Views of who's responsible for the events that led to the January 6th Capitol attack. Republicans on the left, you see the substantial majority of them, plurality, 51% actually, blame Democrats in Congress. The rest of the country clearly blames President Trump. These are deep divisions, and they fundamentally endanger our ability to govern ourselves, and they fundamentally raise the question of how you deal with them.